Right guys, Dan Hendrickson here at Torquay Golf Club. Hashtag Ask Dan. I've had a question come in via Twitter from a chap called Chris Wood. Not sure if it's Chris Wood on tour. Maybe. Chris has asked the question. He says that he would like to see a test between a 7 wood, which is about 21 degrees, and a 21 degree hybrid. He carries a 5 iron, then a 7 wood, which then sort of the 7 wood bridges the gap between his irons up to his 3 wood. So we'll hit some shots with the 7 wood and the 21 and see what the numbers kind of come up with, and hopefully give Chris a bit more of an idea as to whether he needs to stick with his 7 wood or maybe look at testing a 21 degree hybrid. So we're going to use the TS2 21 degree 7 wood by Titleist, set in A1 setting, putting it up against the Titleist H1 21 degree, again set in A1 setting. We've got a Tensai 65 gram stiff shaft, and in the 21 degree, again we've got Tensai 70 gram stiff shaft. But you've got to remember the 7 wood is 2 inches longer in length. So what do I feel like I'm going to see from this? The 21 degree 7 wood maybe just pick up a little bit more clubhead speed, maybe a couple of mile an hour, 3 or 4 mile an hour maybe, than the 21 degree hybrid, which probably or should indicate that the 21 degree 7 wood should go a little bit further than the 21 degree hybrid. However, you might see that the 21 degree 7 wood may spin just a fraction more than the 21 degree hybrid, which then could actually make it go maybe a fraction shorter than what I'm expecting. So this will be an interesting experiment. Let's hit some shots with them and see what they get. Now, being a 5 wood player myself, I tend to choose a 5 wood over a let's say a hybrid. I can see why people kind of like the look of looking down at a fairway wood, let's say over a hybrid, purely because a bigger footprint, which gives players a lot more confidence, and I certainly am one of those players that likes the look of that. Looking down at the 21 degree hybrid, I mean, I can see why people would probably want to game this club maybe over the 7 wood, just because it's smaller, it's shorter in the shaft, so people probably feel like they've got a little bit more control over the actual club itself. But instantly I feel, because it's that much shorter, that I almost have to feel like I'm hitting it harder to maybe get to the length of what that 7 wood is producing. But the feel off the face is just so much firmer and more solid compared to the 7 wood. So the other thing you've got to think about is ball position. I'm just interested to see if maybe my ball position changes from the 7 wood to the hybrid. If I just set up to what I would feel comfortable with a hybrid, just forward of centre in my stance, that's comfortable now with a hybrid. Never really thought of this too much, but now when I just back away a couple of inches and put the 7 wood down, it feels too far back for a 7 wood. Moving it an inch, half an inch to an inch forward now feels more comfortable for me personally, setting that club up for that. So we'll look at the numbers in a moment, but the feeling for me is that the 7 wood is going to feel like the swing path maybe is going to go more out to in, and the hybrid is going to be maybe a little bit more into out, but we'll look at the numbers for that and just check that out. Let's look at the numbers, shall we? So you got my first 5 shots with the 7 wood out top here, and then the 21 degree hybrid down the bottom here. You can start off, let's start off with clubhead speed, because I did say that I was expecting to see a little bit more clubhead speed out of the 7 wood than I did the hybrid, and it's right. I'm 2 mile an hour quicker with the 7 wood than I am the hybrid. So just remember that the 7 wood was 2 inches longer than the hybrid, so we're looking at 1 mile an hour per inch on the length of shaft. Ball speed off the face of the 7 wood is 142 or 143 on an average, whereas you've got 138 on the average of the 21 degree. So a little bit hotter off the face, but obviously clubhead speed will have a fact to play a part in that. Look at launch, 14.8 with the 7 wood compared to 14.7 with the 21 degree hybrid. Let's look at spin. So I'm expecting to see the spin just jump up a little bit. So you can see there 5.6, 5.1 on an average with the 7 wood compared to 5.4. So 200 revs difference between those two clubs. which is what I would expect to see. We'll look at strike to see if that has any bearing on that or a factor on that at all. Peak height 41 yards high with the 7-wood compared to 38 yards high with the hybrid. So 7-wood just getting up there a little bit higher, even though they're launching pretty much the same. So spin just making it possibly rev up. We'll look at loft in a moment as well. And then 209 on an average. What's that peaking out? Or best one at 212 compared to 203 on an average and best at 204. So that 7-wood just getting out there a little bit longer than the hybrid was getting. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how I'm actually making that club work. We talked about my ball position as well. You see how my ball position slightly moved further forward. My angle of attack with the 7-wood is 2.7 down compared to 4 degrees down with the hybrid. So not as much down with the 7-wood than I was with the hybrid. Standing slightly closer to the ball with the hybrid than I am the 7-wood because that club is just that little bit longer. I mentioned as well about my path. So my ball position being slightly further forward, path there, look, 0.7 out to in compared to 0.5 into out. So it's only moving slightly, but it is moving a little bit. What am I moving that? An inch, half an inch further forward in the stance? It's just making that path shift a little bit. Loft, so 29.8 degrees of loft with the 7-wood compared to 25.6 degrees of loft with the hybrid. My gut feeling is purely the fact that I feel because the ball position is slightly further forward, that club is working just that little bit more, and that as that club carries on past where the hybrid would go, it would then start to deliver maybe a fraction more loft than, let's say, what the hybrid was doing. Angle of attack obviously has something to do with that as well, but I would have to do more testing on that. If we look at strike, you can see here I'm 4 millimeters low in the face and averaging 2 millimeters in the toe compared to 3 millimeters high in the face and 7 millimeters heel. A little bit lower in the face, which is going to cause that spin to just rev up a fraction more than hitting it slightly higher in the face. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight, Chris, into what the 7-wood is doing, let's say, over the 21-degree hybrid. You can see there that the 7-wood just getting that little bit more yardage, spinning a bit more. But I think it's important to look at how, as that club was changing in length, it was delivering lots of different characteristics. A little bit different in the loft, a little bit different in the angle of attack, a little bit different in my path, which was then ultimately affecting where I was striking that ball in the club face. For me, there's not a great deal of difference in it. They're going to produce different flights, a little bit higher, more floaty with the 7-wood, let's say, than what the 21-degree hybrid was getting. But Chris, you need to go out now and test these. I think it's a good club to test. The numbers are quite close in the yardage point of view. Not a great deal of difference. You can probably tweak the hybrid fractionally to get it maybe going a little bit longer. But you've got to decide whether you're kind of a fairway player or a hybrid player. For me personally, I'm more of a fairway player. I like my 5-wood. I felt more comfortable looking at the head of the 7-wood, but I did feel more comfortable when I moved into the 21-degree purely on the length side of things. I felt like I could probably control it a little bit more. Chris, make sure you get out there and test. Let me know how you get on with that. I hope this helps everybody else at home watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and look forward to catching up with you again soon. #AskDan.